This is a special CUNY TV presentation. Coming up on LATiNAS, powerful stories that reflect our resilience and unity when it comes to immigration. LATiNAS starts now. Welcome to the special edition of LATiNAS, the show that's all about nosotras, created by nosotras, and I'm Tinabeth Piña. Today, we're diving into the crucial topic of immigration, from the mental health challenges faced by immigrants to groundbreaking advocacy and community empowerment. We're about to shine a light on stories that matter. Our first piece takes place right here at CUNY. New York City has long been a sanctuary city with laws aiming to protect undocumented immigrants. But mass deportations nationwide have led to fear and uncertainty in immigrant communities. To see how sanctuary city laws hold up in this current environment, we're about to hear from a CUNY immigration researcher and a local policymaker on what students and New Yorkers need to know.
Anxieties are high, fear is high among students. There's a lot of panic.
Rosa Angela Coloso is in high demand these days as an immigrant rights educator.
One of the things that happened after the presidential elections in November was that we had an influx of emails of what are the resources available? How can we better support our students? And not just students, but also educators.
Coloso is a project researcher for CUNY I, or Initiative on Immigration Education. It's a research program that also educates educators on immigration policies.
Even after the inauguration, there was also another spike of we need information sessions, we want to know more information.
And that's not even just at CUNY.
For the spring semester, we had 11 out-of-state schools contact us to come in and host information sessions.
It's no surprise she's busy, given the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign and the huge immigrant population in New York and at CUNY.
It's roughly estimated that 1 in 4 students is directly impacted by immigration in the CUNY system, and then 1 in 3 come from mixed status families.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, so mixed status means that within the family, there are people that have varying immigration status. This includes whether they hold some kind of status, whether it is undocumented, DACA, TPS, which is temporary protected status, asylee, refugee, and so forth. And then there's also US born.
CUNY itself has given estimates of its undocumented student population at roughly 5,000, or possibly 6,000. Though Coloso says, under federal law, students aren't required to disclose their status.
We have undocumented and immigration student success centers across CUNY. We're currently sitting in one right now.
The CUNY immigrant population mirrors the city, where in 2023, more than 35% of New Yorkers were counted as foreign-born. The city is considered a sanctuary city, meaning immigrants are protected regardless of status.
Sanctuary city policies have been part of New York City's history and legacy for over 30 years.
City Council member Alexa Aviles chairs the Immigration Committee on the council. She says the city's sanctuary city laws clear barriers between immigrants and city services such as hospitals, police, and education.
There are a collection of policies that essentially say that New York City resources will be dedicated to New York City purposes, and that we do not care about immigration status, that we are here for all New Yorkers and we will provide the service the best we can, and you should not feel afraid to engage with city workers.
All this got thrown into doubt in January when Mayor Eric Adams' administration sent a memo to city agencies on how to respond to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. It instructed city workers to allow ICE entry into city sites if, quote, you reasonably feel threatened or fear for your safety. But Aviles says sanctuary laws remain in play.
We are there correcting the record to say, no, actually the protocol is very clear because the law is very clear. These things cannot be done.
I do know that ICE has been in many different predominantly immigrant communities. For example, I was born and raised in Corona, Queens, and Corona was one of the first areas that was impacted by ICE. And that was like Jackson Heights. We also saw in Bushwick. One of the things that I've even seen within my community, my neighborhoods, is families preparing themselves in the case that they get deported. So parents have been filing power of attorneys in the case that they get deported to make sure that their child is taken care of. And students have been also panicking because it's like, what does this mean for me to not have said family member around me? Or what does this mean for me if I'm undocumented or I have a temporary status or whatever that may look like for them. So it has been a lot of panic in not being able to focus, or even the fear of stepping out of their homes to even commute to school.
But Avilés and Caloso say undocumented people still have certain legal rights at CUNY or elsewhere.
Constitutionally speaking, and also under New York State law and DOE protections, so Department of Education protection laws, ICE can't come into the schooling space. The only time that ICE can enter a schooling space, that is if they have a warrant signed by a federal judge with the name of the said person that they're going in for. Other than that, they can't enter education spaces, specifically CUNY and public schools.
This is Shannon Ayala for LATiNAS.
While immigration policies have been flooding our news cycles, it's important to truly understand who these people actually are. Here's the story of a dedicated lawyer who, despite living undocumented for a decade, has persevered, built a successful career, and is committed to advocating for immigrants who are facing challenges similar to those she once endured.
My name is Isabel Ortiz. I came from Colombia when I was 9 years old with my dad, my sister, and I. I think my personal story of being undocumented was one of the things that inspired me to be an immigration attorney. Having to go through the process myself and see how complicated and long it was. We came on our tourist visas and we overstayed our tourist visas and we were undocumented for 10 years. It was very hard because we couldn't get a work permit, we couldn't get a driver's license, we couldn't get a social security number. So when it was time for me to apply to college, I couldn't get any financial aid, and I ended up going to SUNY University of New York at Old Westbury, and my sister also went to CUNY City College, and those schools did provide in-state tuition to undocumented immigrants, and because of that opportunity, I was able to continue my education. After graduating law school, I went to Dilley, Texas, and I worked as a project attorney for the Cara Pro Bono Project, which offered legal assistance to women and children who, after crossing the border, were being placed in detention centers. And so being in there was really emotionally challenging. I was starting to really experience secondary post-traumatic stress from the different experiences. I mean, often we would be talking about how someone could die if they were returned to their home country while they were breastfeeding their babies. I mean, sometimes we had children in detention as young as 3 months old. And I think that was definitely a challenge that made a profound lasting pressure and impact that encouraged me to continue working for the immigrant community and giving them the assistance that they need to keep going. So Latino women, particularly undocumented women, I think are very vulnerable in this immigration climate and under the immigration policies. A lot of women, when they come, they end up working as domestic workers or in childcare. In these particular sectors, they face potential exploitation, and a lot of the times they're afraid to report it because of their undocumented status. And I think that some of the vulnerabilities that Latino women have are also language barriers, access to technology, and a lot of Latino women are also very vulnerable to domestic violence. And so this even makes it even more complex because of the fear of being undocumented or being deported and separated from their families. They're even afraid to get healthcare access. They're afraid that if they go to the hospital, they'll be reported. And so I do think that they face a lot of challenges that don't allow them to seek the assistance that they need. Some advice that I would give the Latino woman, especially me being a Latino woman as well, would be that they're not alone. I think it's very important that they also take care of their well-being, that in order for them to support their families, that they need to be well, both emotionally and mentally, and that if they are okay and well emotionally, that they will be able to provide more resources and more assistance to their family members. There were several times in my career that I felt like I should give up, or I shouldn't be doing this, or perhaps I wasn't, good enough. But I think what really kept me going was my family's sacrifice to come here, my own sacrifice of having to, be undocumented, live in the shadows. And I think my desire to help others who experience what I experienced was really what kept me going and made me not give up.
Undocumented Latino immigrants are currently facing significant mental health challenges due to the mass deportation efforts sweeping our country. Correspondent Elena Romero explores the hidden struggles of migrants and the efforts taking place to support their well-being.
We are not drug dealers. We don't come here to take people's job. We come here to have an opportunity, to have a job, to get educated, to have a better life than in our country. We're not perfect, but we are here to make a difference.
Araceli was 14 years old when she arrived to the U.S. from Mexico 30 years ago. Her mother fled here with her 5 children to escape domestic violence. A CUNY alum and DACA recipient, Araceli today is a New York City high school Spanish teacher. She and her husband are both undocumented. Her children are not. They live in fear inflicted by the recent immigration crackdown under the Trump administration.
The first week of January, it was like the hardest month for me emotionally. Sorry. Because I didn't know how to talk to my kids. I never thought I was going to have a conversation with my kids about this. And it was hard.
Did your kids know?
No. Never thought, never planned to sit with my son and have this conversation. He's only 13. And I have to tell him. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And he knows. I don't have documents. If something happens, you're gonna stay with your aunt, okay? You're gonna finish your whole year.
Recent statistics indicate that immigrants, particularly recent arrivals and those facing restrictive immigration policies, are experiencing significant increases in mental health, issues ranging from PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
There are people out there who are really suffering. They are living with mental illness. They are living with trauma. You have children who are fearing not seeing their parents. You have rituals where every morning parents say goodbye to their kids just in case they never come home. So I absolutely believe that we are experiencing a mental health crisis on the part of deportable immigrants and their communities, including their families.
BMCC professor Shirley Laro, whose research examines the fear of deportation by non-citizens and its effect on their mental health.
What's dangerous about today is if you know there is an agency or neighborhood that services the immigrant community, ICE is gonna go there because they know it'll be easy pickings for them. And so what's gonna happen, what's already happening, and it's just gonna continue to happen, and it's gonna happen in wider numbers, is that people are just gonna avoid going anywhere. because they're going to be afraid that they might not come back home.
Araceli has not sought mental help to address her daily anxiety stemming from living in a state of uncertainty.
There's a saying that el trabajo es la mejor terapia. And this is what I love doing. Every morning I get up and I come here and teach my kids. I stop thinking of what's gonna come next. But this is one of my terapias for me.
While the fear of deportation is on the rise for undocumented immigrants, mental health services are available for the Latino community.
We're seeing an increase of persons coming in with stress, anxiety, psychosomatic issues like heart palpitations. They're having stress-related disorders come about, stomach issues. We see that their children are stressed, that their kids are starting to act out or to have issues, be nervous, be sad, depressed. And so the effects of the stress of having to navigate the legal system, the immigration system, having to have that financial pressure on them as well, it completely impacts the mental health of many people.
What consejo or advice would you give an undocumented immigrant at this time as it relates to protecting their mental health?
I would say, no tengas mucho miedo, right? I understand that there's a lot of things that could bring fear. Don't be very afraid, because fear sometimes will lock you down. Take a step back, center yourself, get the help that you need, get advice from people that have been through it, professionals, and then make your decisions based on information rather than just a feeling of tengo mucho miedo.
For Latinas, I'm Elena Romero.
Every year, thousands of immigrants leave their home countries for a chance at a better life for themselves and their families here in New York City. One organization in Brooklyn is empowering Latin American immigrants by giving them access to services that enhance their quality of life. Let's take a look.
I'm Lorena Corosias, the Executive Director of Mixteca. Mixteca focuses its services on vulnerable communities. It started with the HIV pandemic within the Mexican community here in Sunset Park. And it's turning 25 years this year. We truly believe that right now, with all whatever is happening for the community in the political climate, having a place for the organization and their place that they feel is their home away from home can give them some hope. So Mixteca is the organization that is building that bridge between the culture, between what you know, between what you are familiar with, and the services that you may don't know that you need. For example, maybe people didn't know how to prevent HIV. We provide information, we provide condoms, and then they start from there with the health, and then they realize that mental health was part of this holistic way to provide treatment to the community. At that time, there were a lot of people with domestic violence cases, or they have some cases with the interaction with the law. So we start having groups to support them in providing information. Then a lot of people coming here and they request ESL classes. So we start giving education, ESL classes, computer classes, and then we realized that the legal situation was an issue for the community. And we also incorporated another program, which is the emergency rapid response. That means getting food, and we have the Mercadito Solidario or the Solidarity Market every Saturday, where we provide fresh fruits and vegetables. And I think what is important from all these services is that they've been developed based on the need of the community. The past 2 years or 3 years, the new people from maybe other parts of Latin America were requesting services because it was this possibility of getting the application for asylum. So let us know what they need, and we develop the program, we find the resources, and Mixteca is now an immigrant woman-led organization. That I think is another change. We know that women are ready to take it on, that when they get here, they already survive a lot of abuses and they are escaping abuses. And we need to provide some tools and some spaces to heal. We hear a lot from, for example, the teenagers when they are living in a shelter and how they've been abused in their way to the US. We generate programs for them, for youth as well. And right now we have programs like Sobremesa. Is one of the projects for the survivors of trafficking and gender-based violence that are learning how to develop their own business, but is led by psychologists and indigenous chefs that are teaching and sharing recipes, and they are transforming the way that the kitchen was for women. I will tell a woman that is here living in this situation that don't stay alone, because the power that we have together is the power that we want to discover during this time, because going back is not an option.
In the heart of Washington Heights, immigrant artists are stepping into the spotlight. The People's Theater blends production, education, and advocacy to amplify immigrant voices and transform the stage into a platform for community power. Correspondent Isabel Ortiz has that story.
And like a diamond, every corner of the world was connected.
Esa tierra, mi familia, mi hogar.
For over 15 years, the People's Theater has been a force in Washington Heights. Founded by Dominican immigrant Mino Laura to spotlight immigrant stories, too often ignored by mainstream stages.
For me, as an artist, as an educator, as an activist, I was kind of living all of these lives in silos, and I was looking to bring it all together, creating and carving space for immigrants through the arts and through theater specifically is so important because I think it's very powerful. Stories are so important in the work of justice. If we don't see each other reflected, we don't recognize our own humanity, whether I'm from a different culture or from the same, to know that I am enough.
The Academy, a youth theater education program, is a core part of the People's Theater through deep conversations about identity, culture, and justice. Students find their voice, both on stage and beyond.
We focus on leadership. And the way that we do that is learning about who you are. So our young people jump into that first year really talking about race, gender, disabilities, sexuality, their culture, looking at their heritage. The young people either choose an issue that they want to create a piece on, or as a theater, we are working with other immigrant organizations and figuring out what is this topic that we're going to focus on and fight for this year, what is important.
The People's Theater Academy is tuition-free, removing financial barriers for immigrant youth and their families, ensuring that students can participate fully regardless of background or income.
A lot of these arts program and theater programs are very expensive, and it's really hard to choose between, especially in such an expensive city, between like sending your child to a conservatory or somewhere that they want to go to and like just doing your basic needs. So it's important to us that we're able to admit 24 students, free, scholarship-based.
We get funding from New York State to help cover this. We get funding from New York City to support this program. We also have some private foundations who support it. Thank goodness we live in a city and state that recognizes the value of these programs.
Power! These beautiful hands that gave me power. These beautiful hands that gave me power.
For students like Donnelly Beltre, the Academy is a launchpad.
Do you see theater as something that you would like to continue?
The People's Theater is the only reason why I felt like I would continue theater. And that being through college, and that being either minoring or majoring in theater. And the reason why I felt that was right was because like I found a very like creative outlet to it and found like that it's really impactful the way you do, and it's like it opens up so many branches.
The impact goes beyond the stage, helping students and their families navigate the challenges of immigrant life in New York City. Leticia Cortez, a youth and family advocate at the People's Theater, helps ensure basic needs are met.
We want to make sure during that first year we work really one-on-one with those new families to kind of get everyone in our academy in the baseline. Do you have a safe place to live? If not, what we can do to assist with that, what other organization can we connect you to? Food insecurity. Does your family need SNAP? If you don't, okay, let me go with you and we're going to sit down and we're going to fill out this application together.
In 2026, the People's Theater will open New York City's first cultural center dedicated to immigrant communities, Centro Cultural Inmigrante. The space will include a theater, rehearsal studios, and classrooms, a lasting place to celebrate immigrant creativity and culture.
This is the place where not only are immigrant stories told, but immigrant artists know it's a place they can come to. Advocacy groups know we are their partner in the essential storytelling for making change. So really, this Center for Immigrant Power with culture at the center, I think can be a model, can then be replicated across the country. But that really is our vision.
In a city built by immigrants, the People's Theater is more than a stage. It's a movement where immigrant voices lead the story. For LATiNAS, I'm Isabel Ortiz.
From the fight for sanctuary to the stage of the People's Theater, today's stories show us that immigration isn't just a policy issue. It's human, it's personal, and it's powerful. Thank you for joining us on this special episode of LATiNAS, where we amplify the voices that matter most. Remember, our stories are our strength. Hasta la próxima.